Thank you, Mead, and thanks for creating the Hawthorne Club, which is a really dynamic group of women and supporting one another and helping to build our clean energy future. And thank you to Amy for inviting me and putting this panel together. This is always last year was my first time here, and it's just a great group of people to help us build our strength out there, fighting all the fights that we do on a daily basis. So thank you so much. I'm just going to do a brief overview of our investment approach as a way to set the stage for the discussion we're going to have. So what is DBL? DBL stands for Double Bottom Line. We are probably the largest impact venture firm in the United States. The double bottom line means we invest for both financial return and social return, and we've been doing this since about 2004. We're on our third fund. We have helped by working with extraordinary entrepreneurs to build the field of impact investing over the past 12 years or so, as we've been able to create some iconic companies, help create iconic companies that allow us to envision a future where companies do both make money for their investors but also solve very pressing social and environmental problems. And these are some of the companies we've been able to work with over the years. So we're talking about sustainability today. We don't just do sustainability investing, but it's a huge part of who we are. And this is the way one of the ways we think about how to make a mark. I mean, obviously, venture capital is high risk, high return. We want to address the issue of scale, and so we tend to focus. These are 5 of the industry segments that we tend to focus on, and just represented on this pie chart is almost 2/3 of the world's carbon emissions. So we are focused on the industries that are part of the problem, and our aim is to make them part of the solution. And basically, there's what we're looking for are opportunities to create new entrants that transform some of these industries. And let me just tell you how this has worked for all of us. We have a good example. In the tech industry, we've seen a continuous pace of innovation really throughout our entire lifetimes. There hasn't been a year where there hasn't been some development in tech, and we expect it. We love it. I mean, who knew we would use our phones to take pictures just a few years ago? I mean, this has all been, it has its dislocations, it has its issues, but we're generally in favor of this, and there's been enormous wealth creation if you jumped into these transitions along the way. So that's kind of the norm for a lot of the investment community and for our lives today. Well, Houston, we have a problem. This is not the case in these industries represented in the pie chart that I showed you a few minutes ago. Look at transportation. Names from the early 20th century that are the icons, except for Tesla. Just not any kind of major creation of new companies for almost a decade, a century. Look at energy. The icons that we know about are all early 20th century. The companies that we're creating now are in many cases only 10 years old. So instead of there being this rich, robust pattern of innovation that we know the benefits of in the tech sector, we have been in really a wasteland. It doesn't stop here. Look at aerospace, really robust in that first half of the 20th century. And then it basically stopped. And I don't know if any of you are aerospace investors. Aerospace companies are among the most highly valued companies on the planet. Anyone own Boeing? I think it's $120 billion valuation. So this is an incredibly rich territory, and yet no real Space 2.0 until recently. So we have some catching up to do. Food and ag, same story. John Deere, founded in like 1890. I mean, some of these companies are not even 20th century names, and they have been buying each other and not really a pattern of innovation until 1980 when Whole Foods was founded. And now you have a pretty robust ag and and food innovation cycle beginning to occur. Finally, let's look at conservation. We don't even have any iconic companies in conservation. We have iconic not-for-profits, doing the work, the good work for over a decade. But again, still very early 20th century loaded in terms of the founding of those organizations. And we obviously need a commercial solution to some of these problems, and there are none right now. So these are the areas that we feel have huge opportunity. Why do they have opportunity? They are addressing climate impact in a positive way. It's not just do no harm, it's drive a fantastic car and don't run it on oil. And in the process, as an investor, obviously Tesla was a grand slam financially, but also impact. I mean, in our original investment memo, we said we won't really be successful unless Tesla impacts Detroit and Japan and Germany and national governments. And of course, you have to pick up the paper. Volvo yesterday said no more fossil fuel cars going forward in 2040 or whenever. National governments are saying no more fossil fuel cars. So impact, there's the industry transformation that leads to societal transformation that leads to jobs. Jobs are a key metric that we measure because that's what gets you to be successful in state houses, in Washington, D.C., in the political realm. Jobs are hugely important. And we also want to create those companies that your kids want to work for someday. Most kids are drawn to the future, to solving problems, and we want there to be capacity for people to make those choices and live walk the walk in terms of creating impact. And then, of course, scale. Nothing's going to change if we just create small companies, don't hire a lot of people that don't make a big difference. So that's why we've got to get up on that time frame and that scorecard. These are just a few of our companies that we feel some of them will be those iconic companies. We've already helped create Tesla. We've got Africa Off-Grid Electric. We've got a storage company founded by a woman, by the way, AMS. Thanks, Darren, for the shout out. I quickly did a calculation of number of women founders and women C-suite executives in just this batch of our companies, and it's 66%. So we definitely are making an impact on the gender side as well. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you very much. Just one company, Farmers Business Network, is on deck. This is a company that'll probably be going public in the next 18 to 24 months. And so in terms of a call to action, buy the stocks of these companies when they go public. It would have been a good decision for Tesla back in 2010. So we can't democratize access to venture capital rapidly because it is so high risk, but we can sure democratize access to our successful companies by taking them public, enjoying these benefits, and allowing every investor to have an opportunity to build that portfolio. And so I'm just going to leave with one more call to action. It's so supportive to be in a room like this, and we need to draw strength from one another. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here. We do need to push ourselves a little bit, and we need to get out of our comfort zone and go into the mainstream with these messages. And this is just one example of something that was way out of my comfort zone that I felt I had to do. This is an op-ed, Seed Capital Takes on New Meaning as Farms Go Digital, that I wrote for the Wall Street Journal several months ago about Farmers Business Network, our big data company for ag. And I don't even read the op-eds in the Wall Street Journal because they make me so upset. But I felt it was important that they know, that readership know that agriculture is being transformed to allow farmers to stay on their land and create a better livelihood for their families and feed a growing population in a sustainable way. And this was a lot of work. I don't know if any of you have ever written for the Wall Street Journal, but it's just back and forth, months and months. But now, having made the effort, now the company is being positioned at the mainstream Wall Street conferences and at the Wall Street Journal's Ag Summit right up there with the CEO of Monsanto and Cargill and all of those names from the 19th and 20th century I showed you. And so we have to really jump in and do things that expand from the choir that we all are to creating compelling narratives for those that represent the past. So I'm just going to leave it with that and look forward to our conversation. Thank you so much.